Hey, Shalom. This is Fallen Yeshua. Welcome back again to Rock. We are here for the next part of the Civil War uh, talk I wanted to have since, once again, Civil War is being promoted heavily. I think that it is very advantageous for us to have a conversation about this. Today, I went to handle some business in one of the towns, and the town has under 1,000 people. And in that town, the grocery store over the past week and a half had the store next to it had caught on fire, burned down most of the shopping center that the grocery store was in, and but the grocery store itself survived, although there was some severe smoke damage. So they're closing it down. So they're talking about anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. And if you don't know anything about these small little towns out here in the Ozarks, the grocery stores that are out here are very small, very, very small, very limited selection of things that you can buy. But they serve, quite a few small towns. Like you may have a, an area where you have 4 or 5 small towns with under 1,000 people in each town, and one of those towns will have a grocery store. So because of the grocery store going down, I had actually gone to the Dollar General, Dollar Tree, no, Dollar Tree, Family Dollar. They have them connected out here, and the cashier was talking about like they have been cleaned out because nobody can go to the grocery store because it's closed. Everybody is going to these small Dollar General, Family Dollars, and they're buying up all the food. It's either that or where I am, it takes you about an hour to get to Walmart. You're driving for about an hour before you can get to the nearest Walmart in any direction. So food is important. Now I wasn't going there to get food. I had gone in there to grab a pack of pens actually. To grab a pack of pens. I didn't have a pen in my vehicle, so I wanted to go get some. But somebody else was talking to the cashier about it, how they didn't have any milk at the store, and a lot of their snack foods and soups have been bought out because everyone's leaving and going to the grocery store because there are people out here that don't have reliable transportation to the local Walmart. And I wanted to just draw, how that is what it would look like. You would see stores emptied, as the person at the Family Dollar was talking about how empty they were. I mean, they were empty too. Chips were gone, and things were gone. I just wanted to draw that in. When you talk about Civil War, you're talking about the closure of things, like how you normally it probably wouldn't be everywhere. It'd probably be where the fighting took place. But I want to draw. I have some notes here. I just want to talk about some things. Um, During the Civil War, the actual Civil War, there were things called bread riots that took place in the South. One of the biggest ones was in Richmond, and it was caused by inflation, which we're going to talk about. That's what Civil War would cause. It would certainly cause inflation. It would cause a huge refugee and humanitarian crisis of people being relocated from certain cities to other areas. You would see literally certain areas, and in fact, Richmond suffered from that. Let me go to my notes. Richmond suffered from that. The city, Richmond went from 38,000 people in 1860 to over 100,000 people in 1863. They went up 62,000 people in 3 years. Towns aren't, equipped for that. Whether it be housing, whether it be, whether it be housing, or whether it be food, or whatever it may be, they're not equipped to go up 62,000 people in 3 years. But that's what happened because of the refugee crisis, and that caused food shortages in those areas. Let me go to some more notes. Um, uh, and also one of the bigger issues that the major cities had, and this is all the major cities in the South, is that a lot less of rural food was making it to larger cities, which is even how it's done now. It's how it's done now is majority of food leaves rural areas, whether it be farms or whatever it may be, vineyards, whatever, and they get transported to the larger cities. Well, the larger cities is where you would see a lot of the mayhem actually happening from, a actual civil war. Um, let me see. 80% of the communities in the United States are served exclusively by trucks. So now envision 80% of the communities are served exclusively by semi truck. Food is brought in by semi trucks to 80% of the communities in the United States of America. Imagine these roads get shut down because of civil war. Imagine that. Let's go to this statistic. 71% of all food nationwide is moved by trucking. Again, envision trucks not being able to go into certain areas due to violence. The people in those areas, in those large metropolitan areas, would be cut off from food, greatly cut off from food. 17% of food is moved by rail, 8% by ship, and 4.5% by air. What that's telling you is that most food is shipped and moved from one location to another. Imagine civil war now. Imagine those, you know, certain places are not able to have access to food because, well, train yards are, shut down. And it doesn't have to be they got hit by a rocket. It could just be companies are saying, let's say the Civil War started in, I don't know, the West Coast. And we'll say everything, I'm just hypothetically throwing this out there. Everything west of the Rockies. What if companies said, we're just simply not going to ship or we're not going to drive our trucks west of the Rockies? How many states, how many millions of people? Let's just say it happened in Oregon and Washington. We're not driving trucks into there. That means those grocery stores don't have food. That means you're going to have a starvation, the possibility of a starvation problem. Well, it's okay because I'll just move. And then you're going to have millions and millions of people who have the same idea, who are all going to be trying to move. And then you're going to have an influx of people going into, Idaho. You're going to have an influx of people hitting into Montana, the Dakotas. You're going to have you're going to have a huge influx of people hitting and going into Texas. Texas will get inundated by people. You see, it's going to cause a migration issue, which will then cause food insecurities, food problems. That's going to happen. Well, I'm okay because I'm this, I'm that. I'm not worried about it. That's initially. If this thing were to spread worldwide and you're in any metropolitan area, there is a distinct possibility that trucks don't go into your area. And most grocery stores and most, your super Walmart, they don't have enough. They have enough food to keep food in the shelves for probably 1 to 2, maybe 3 days. I've worked at a Walmart. I know. 1, 2, maybe 3 days. They have trucks coming in every night. They have trucks coming in. All day they have trucks coming in. When I worked at, usually nights. So what it would be is those who got the information first would hit the grocery stores and buy up all the food with whatever finances they had, and then they would hunker down. And then everybody else who gets to the store next suffers, which is going to continue. See, the Civil War itself is one thing. People are going to be shooting at each other. People are going to be dying. There's going to be, bombs blowing up, whatever. But we're not taking consideration that the civilian population always suffers far greater than anybody else. And most civilian population is not ready. When you're talking about a civil war, you're talking about the fighting. It's not going to be hardened soldiers. You're talking about normal people would probably be taking up arms in one way or another. That's what you're talking about. You're talking about huge shifts in how things will be done. And for your average person doesn't have the skills to garden. Oh, a lot of people can buy seeds. See, we grow here about 95% of our vegetables for my large family. Um, and we're transitioning, and we're about at 60% of our meat now. 60% of our meat and 95% of our vegetables. This does not cover. We bake our own breads here. We actually buy our wheat berries. We grind them down. We buy wheat. We buy flour. We buy those things. So the average person does not have the skills to make a loaf of bread, nor do they have flour in their house. We live in a culture today in a society where people decide, what's the those uh people deliver food to their house. That's how a lot of people live now, especially in major metropolitan areas. People get food delivered to their house. They get the amenities they need delivered to their house, or they go out and they eat out. That's what it is. When you're talking about food shortage and things like that, imagine, just think of this country if EBT got cut. What would it look like if EBT got cut? What mayhem would come to these cities if simply EBT, got cut? See, the average person is not equipped. They don't know. They think it's as simple as grabbing some seeds and throwing them in the garden. They think it's as easy as, most people don't, they don't have the area to grow wheat. Or even if you decide to grow amaranth, which we are growing this next year, we're dedicating a large area for amaranth because of the seed heads. We want to grind it down for flour. But the average person doesn't have that. They don't have that ability to grow enough amaranth. They don't have enough. They don't have that ability to grow enough food. Period. And then if you did grow the food and you lived in a large metropolitan area, there's a high possibility the food that you grow could be taken by somebody else who is more desperate. See, the food banks right now are already inundated. They're backlogged. There are people there's always more people that need food than there is food available at these food banks. So you would see major mayhem just in the simple fact of food. Not even talking about the local economy, how what it would it look like considering you'd have massive amounts of people coming into your area. You're talking simply about just food. Just food would cause so much destruction. And I know people have the fantasy, well, we're just going to run to the woods. You're not. I'm just telling you, you're not. I know this location. I know many, many other homesteaders, and they're not. No, they are not. Nobody is going to be okay with you coming onto their property and hunting deer. They don't even do it now. They're not okay with it now. Nobody's going to be okay with you coming on and shooting a rabbit or a squirrel. Now, I don't eat that. I eat what is considered food according to the Bible, according to what the law says. But nobody's going to come and be okay with you, because eventually what would end up happening is you're going to try to mess with somebody's livestock, and then you're going to get yourself ended. It's just it's a very it's a lot of fantasy. A lot of people who fantasize about violence and fantasize about things like this, they really believe that war and that is the answer. Now, hey, the Bible speaks about war. We know what happens. But when you fantasize about this and start turning it into uh, it sounds cool or whatever, we're not taking a look at the big picture. This country has fought wars everywhere else. Being from the inner city, being from what people would consider war zones in America, in these inner cities, it's not going to be this cakewalk. There's going to be suffering, major suffering. And we always think the suffering is going to be somebody else. And it could very easily be you. It could very easily be Phoenix, Arizona. It could very easily be Salem, Oregon. It could very easily be Olympia, Washington. It could very easily be Sacramento, San Francisco, San Jose, San Diego, Los Angeles, California. It could very easily, and it doesn't matter if your county is not. It doesn't matter. When you talk about civil war, your friend. I was looking online, and there were people complaining, who had lost their jobs because they decided to say some just horrible things about a man that died. I mean, what kind of who does that? Who talks about well, it happened. Just because other people do it doesn't mean that it's okay. It's not okay to gloat and laugh and be very condescending and wicked about a person dying. Literally because of what he believed in. Literally. But there are people who lost their jobs based on that. And they were saying, well, my friend, told the boss, or my coworker, told the boss what I was saying. So do you even know who the people around you are? How do you know that the person next to you, the person that you've been calling friend or bud this whole time, is not going to be the person that when they start starving or when they need food and they know you got it, they're not the ones that are coming to you and saying, hey, I know you got it. It's interesting because I've seen so many articles of people being turned in by their friends, turned in by their coworkers, people that they thought they were cool with. So the idea of a lack of food, getting back to the original, the idea of a lack of food or food being greatly interrupted in this country would lead to a disaster. This country, the people, they're not equipped. Everybody's already at their wits' end. Everybody's already on edge. They're not ready for it. People are not ready for it. I'm not ready for it. People have their luxury still. They still, hey, I can go to fast food or I can go get a Snicker bar whenever I want to. What happens if you couldn't? What happens if you couldn't get your vice, your alcohol, or your cigarettes, your coffee? I just recently stopped drinking coffee. I had migraines for like 2.5 weeks. I mean, I did it a year ago, about a year ago. But for 2.5 weeks, I had migraines because my body had gotten so adapted to caffeine. Now imagine that's nicotine. Imagine that's alcohol. See, I just don't think, and look at people are addicted to sugar, just sugar by itself. It's a great thing, when you read it in a book, you read this, Lights Out, and I have all those books, the prepper books when the grid goes down and it tells a story about some man, and his overcoming and things like that. That's still just a book. That is still just a book. When it comes to real life, it changes things. People change when it comes to that. People you think change when it comes to those sort of things, when it comes to a lack of food. So I just wanted to talk about the food portion. Next, we'll probably talk about my, refugees. That maybe the next topic, people relocating due to civil war. But I want you to really think about if you're in a city. Imagine if trucks stopped coming in for whatever reason. Whoever the president or CEO or director of operations of whatever trucking company decides, we're not sending our truckers into those areas. So those areas essentially get cut off from food. What would that look like? What would that look like? And how much infighting, not just fighting between, this side and that side, but you'd have people who are on the same side, supposedly, fighting each other for what's left. For what's left in the store, for what's left on the shelf, for what's left in their garden. Anyways, that is the end of this one. We will talk about the next one. Like I said, refugees in probably a couple days. Sorry, the change of scenery was just I was getting work done, working on my chainsaws, cleaning the three of them out. Uh, been processing a lot of wood, so for the wood stove for this winter. So I just decided to come in here and you know how it is. But my two Husqvarnas over here, they work pretty well. But I'm still a good old Stihl fan. But the two Huskies, they work fine. But the Stihl, that's when I use to take down trees. The Huskies, I use those for more limbing now. I do a lot of limbing with those too, but I digress. Anyways, bless y'all. Have a blessed. It's third day. Um, we'll continue to talk. If you have any comments, please feel free to comment in the comment section and talk about what you think it would look like if the food got cut off. How disastrous would it be in your area? Bless y'all. Have a blessed day, and shalom.